Hello friends and welcome to my Bard guide. Bard is part of the physical ranged family of jobs, a slightly more advanced physical ranged to play, but playing at a baseline level is quite simple. Bard boasts a high damage output via party buffs and plenty of utility actions to help your team. First we'll go over the basic GCD and oGCD actions, then we'll go over the songs and the Bard's gauge into utility actions. After that we'll go into the opener and rotation and finish off with the stat priority. Let's begin. Burst Shot. Bard's filler single target GCD with a 30% chance to proc straight shot ready, allowing the usage of Refulgent Arrow. Refulgent Arrow, a single target GCD with a higher potency than Burst Shot. Make sure to use this as soon as possible. Caustic Bite, a single target GCD which leaves a poison damage over time effect on target, and Storm Bite, another single target GCD which leaves a wind damage over time effect on target. These two dots last 45 seconds and should always be kept up, but Bard has a tool to make this trivial. Iron Jaws, a single target GCD that will refresh the dots from Caustic Bite and Storm Bite to their original 45 seconds. With this ability, manual dot application should ideally be avoided. Use this when Caustic and Storm Bite are around 3 seconds or less. All three of these abilities have a 30% chance to proc straight shot ready, just like with Burst Shot. Landon's Bite. Bard's basic AoE GCD, firing a cone effect in front of the Bard and should be used on 3+ targets. If you cannot consistently hit 3 mobs, apply some Storm Bites first and then some Caustic if you still can't accurately hit 3 mobs. Landon's Bite has a 35% chance to proc Shadow Bite ready, allowing the usage of, you guessed it, Shadow Bite. Shadow Bite, an AoE GCD around selected target, dealing higher potency than Landon's Bite. Basically, your Refulgent Arrow of AoE. Bloodletter, a single target oGCD, and Rain of Death, an AoE oGCD around the selected target to be used on 2+ targets, both sharing a cooldown of 15 seconds and holding up to 3 charges. Barrage, a 120-second cooldown oGCD effect that triples the next single target GCD action. Additionally, grants the effect of straight shot ready and increases the potency of Shadow Bite. Using either a single target GCD or Shadow Bite will consume the effect. Use the Shadow Bite effect on 4+ targets. Always pair Barrage with Refulgent Arrow for 3 or less targets, and make sure not to waste any straight shot ready procs by using a Barrage before using your Refulgent Arrow proc. Imperial Arrow, a single target oGCD on a 15-second cooldown. Highly important to be used the moment this ability comes off cooldown to keep it in line with the 2-minute buffs. Additionally, procs the current song's repertoire effect. More on repertoire later. Sidewinder, a single target oGCD on a 60-second cooldown. Just like with Imperial Arrow, make sure to be using this the moment it comes off cooldown to align it with the 2-minute buffs. Raging Strikes, a 120-second cooldown oGCD that increases damage dealt by 15%, lasting 20 seconds. It's important to use Iron Jaws as your last GCD under Raging Strikes to get 45 seconds of fully buffed dots. Battle Voice, a 120-second cooldown oGCD that increases direct hit by 20% on self and nearby party members in a 20-yard radius, these two being Bard's core 2-minute burst window buffs. Now let's move on to the songs and Bard's gauge-based abilities. All songs are on a 120-second cooldown on the oGCD, have unique buffs to self and nearby party members that last 45 seconds in a 30-yard radius, and they require a target to execute as they deal a small potency single target attack. Additionally, all songs have an 80% chance to grant repertoire, which offers unique effects depending on song. We'll cover those effects individually as we go through the songs. Let's begin with the Wanderer's Minuet, which grants self and nearby party members 2% critical hit rate. Additionally, every Wanderer's Minuet repertoire effect allows the usage of Pitch Perfect and holds up to a maximum of 3 stacks with varying potencies depending on stacks held. Pitch Perfect is a single target oGCD attack, and in most situations you want to use this at 3 stacks, but if you do have buffs running and only have 2 stacks and less than 3 seconds on buffs, then go ahead and spend the stacks, or if the Wanderer's Minuet has 3 seconds or less. This is the first song in our song priority, which will be used in the opener and reopeners. Enter the next song at 3 to 2 seconds left. Speaking of the next song, we have Mage's Ballad, increasing damage dealt by 1% to self and nearby party members. Mage's Ballad repertoire effect reduces the recast time time of Bloodletter and Reign of Death by 7.5 seconds, and this song is second in our song priority, and will be cut short at 12 to 11 seconds to keep everything aligned correctly. Finally, we have the Army's Payon, increasing direct hit by 3% to self and nearby party members. Army's Payon repertoire effect reduces your GCD timer and auto attack delay by 4% for each stack, and can be stacked up to 4 times for a total of 16%. This is the last song in our song priority before going back into the Wanderer's Minuet. Use the Wanderer's Minuet as a late weave during the Army's Payon. This is due to the Army's Muse, which carries over a portion of the Army's Payon effect for 10 seconds. This will allow you to use 5 GCDs under the Army's Muse effect. Going back to repertoire, we have Apex Arrow, a straight line AoE attack on the GCD dealing varying potencies depending on Soul Voice gauge, and can be executed at 20 of said gauge. The Soul Voice gauge is generated by 5 for each repertoire proc and holds up to a total of 100. Remember, there is an 80% chance for repertoire to proc. Apex arrows should only be used at 80 or more gauge and never below. The reason for this is Blast Arrow. Just like with Apex Arrow, Blast Arrow is a straight line AoE attack on the GCD dealing high potency and can only be executed after using Apex Arrow when above 80 of the Soul Voice gauge. Treat Apex Arrow like a 1 minute cooldown. Use your first Apex at around 21 to 19 seconds left on Mage's Ballad as long as you have 80 plus gauge. Then use your next Apex at the reopener, and do not concern yourself with overcapping, as it's generally a gain to be used with your 2 minute burst window. To tie this all together, we have Radiant Finale, an oGCD on a 110 second cooldown that increases damage dealt by self and nearby party members for varying percentages of damage depending on coders active, and lasts 15 seconds. There are 3 coders in total, 1 unique coder for each song played. In the opener, only 1 coder will be active, but after the opener, for every reopener, all 3 coders should be active for the full potency. You can mostly ignore the fact this cooldown is on a 110 second timer, as you'll be using it with your 120s anyways. Let's finish off with Bard's utility and crossroll actions. All the following actions will be on the oGCD. The Wanderer's Payon has a 45 second cooldown and removes 1 cleansable debuff off self or target party member, or if no debuff is cleansed, will give target a buff that will nullify the next debuff, which lasts 30 seconds. Doesn't see much use in high-end content, but can be nifty in dungeons, open world content, and other niche content like Eureka, Bozja, and Deep Dungeon, just to list a few. Nature's Mini has a 90 second cooldown and increases self or target's healing received by 20% for 15 seconds. A great tool to be used on the tank in most cases, and can even be paired well with a Scholar for a stronger deployment tactics. In simple terms, gives the Scholar a stronger AoE shield. Troubadour, a 90 second cooldown and reduces the damage taken by 10% for self and nearby party members in a 20 yarn radius lasting 15 seconds. Has a lot of value in high-end content for raid wides and heavy hitting raid wides, or just high intensity damage phases in general. Don't sleep on this tool, as it will help your healers a considerable amount, meaning they can do more damage. Repelling Shot, a 30 second cooldown and backsteps the user 10 yards away from the target. Bard's movement tool. Although I personally don't find much value in this ability, I'm sure there are situations where it could come in handy. Second Wind has a 120 second cooldown and restores HP to self. Just like with Troubadour, this is an excellent tool to be used when taking raid damage or when your healers can't reach you with their heals, so make sure to take advantage of this. Arm's Length has a 120 second cooldown and prevents knockback and draw-in effects for 6 seconds. Use this when an encounter is going to knock you back to prevent the knockback and any unnecessary repositioning that comes with it. Head Graze, a 30 second cooldown and interrupts the target's cast if they can be interrupted, which is shown via the color and shape of the cast bar. It's important to interrupt these casts as they usually negatively impact the raid. Peloton has a 5 second cooldown and increases movement speed of self and nearby party members in a 20 yarn radius for 30 seconds, but the effect expires upon entering combat. Good to be used in between dungeon pools, the open world, and other niche content, but also really good to be used at the start of an encounter so the melees and the tanks can save their sprint to get to the boss faster. Lastly, we have Leg and Foot Graze, both on a 30 second cooldown. Leg Graze will heavy the target, reducing their movement speed by 40% for 10 seconds, and Foot Graze binds the target for 10 seconds. Both of these tools don't see much use in high-end content, but just like with prior abilities, they can be decent in niche content. Let's now move on to the opener and rotation. Finally, the stat priority, which goes like this: critical hit, a healthy balance between determination and direct hit, and lastly skill speed. Although it is recommended to go for enough skill speed so your GCD is at 2.48 or 2.47 to avoid Imperial Arrow clipping into your GCD. Do not go above or below this GCD if you can. And that covers this guide. Overall, Bard is a quite straightforward job to play, with some quirks in its rotation and plenty of room for optimization. Thank you if you made it all the way to the end of the video. If you like what you see, then make sure to give it a like. If you aren't subscribed yet and enjoy my content, then consider hitting that subscribe button for more content just like this. If you have any feedback on this guide or just how you find the job, let me know in the comments below. If you would like to support me any further, you can follow me at the socials below: Twitch, Discord, and Twitter, and I would really appreciate if you did check those out. Also, if you're feeling generous, you can now become a channel member and have your name credited at the end of the video like this. Big thank you to my channel members for the extra support. With all that said and done, I shall see you guys in the next one. But until then, take it easy, stay safe, we out. Goodbye.